So this is called the Building Chicago Construction Contracting Overview. And as Jackie mentioned, I'm going to speak about these four items: the Small Business Initiative, the Mid-Sized Business Initiative, Equal Employment Opportunity, and Apprentice Utilization Bid Preference. Okay. For the Small Business Initiative, this is a program that was developed by the City of Chicago, and because we're talking about construction, a lot of these programs were put in place because target market was no longer going to be utilized for construction projects. So they had to come up with a unique way of how to get small businesses an opportunity or a piece of the pie. So the small business is the first one. The Small Business Initiative is the first one. Now this is really geared for smaller businesses, and I guess the word small is an interpretation, but as you see, SBI 1 and SBI 2 are the two types that we offer. SBI 1 is for projects that are less than $3 million, and then SBI 2, and of course, so SBI 1 will go from $2 to $3 million, and then SBI 2 would be all projects under $2 million. So any firm that meets those criteria, they can fall into those. So all of the bigger firms will not have an opportunity to bid on those projects. It will be only the firms that fit into those two tiers. So the city also found after a while that we want to also, let's move some of the bigger firms were saying, well, let's open up a little bit more. So that's where the next entity came. It was called the MBI, the mid-sized business. And what happened with that, we've even grown that category. Is like I say, small and mid-sized businesses. And what this allows, it is for only construction projects. So we have an MBI 1 and MBI 2. We're going to have Jackie probably update this. Is that it's for those projects between 3 and 10 million. So it's going to pick up for SBI 2. And then now there's an MBI 2 for 10 to 20 million. And as I mentioned, these are now programmed to allow only firms that fit within those criteria to be able to bid on those particular projects. And like I say, this allows the city to achieve goals of being able to reach out to those firms only. Okay. Oh, wait, after I finish this, then yeah, you can, yeah. All right. So the next opportunity or bid incentive, and this is available on all construction contracts that are valued at $100,000 or more. The design is just to increase the minority and women, journey workers, apprentices, and laborers. This is found in the award criteria figure that's in all construction city-funded projects. Very important. Only city-funded projects. Any bidder that proposes to utilize, say, the minority or women, journey workers, apprentices, and laborers, on their award criteria, they would provide a percentage of how much they are going to provide to those workers. And then what happens is we canvass the bid. So I'll give an example. If your bid is $1 million and you took advantage of these incentives, it can, in essence, reduce your bid to canvas. Now, let me say canvas, meaning you will canvas it to $900,000. Does even mention the word canvas? Yeah, canvas. Formula in the bid, it can reduce it to $900,000 and say the next bidder did not take advantage of the equal employment opportunity. Their bid and their bid came in at $1 million or came in at say $950,000. Your bid potentially would canvas to be lower than their bid, and you potentially can win that bid because you utilize the minority. And this, like I say, these are opportunities for firms to be able to give minority women, journey workers, apprentices, and laborers an opportunity to construct, whereas they would not have on any other contract. Okay, so these are the good incentives that we offer for the city of Chicago. And the next one is an apprentice utilization. Now this is designed for city prime contractors to utilize apprentices on those construction projects. Now, let's talk about what an apprentice means. It's any person who is sponsored into an apprenticeship. So, if a contractor utilizes, I would say, a particular person who is enrolled in or has graduated from a construction technology training program by the city colleges, or is a graduate of a high school operated by Chicago Public Schools, they can get that apprentice utilization incentive on their bid. And what it does is it will reduce their bid by 1 to 2%. Same thing for canvassing purposes. That 1 or 2%, if those bids are come in relatively very, very close, this in essence can make you the low bidder on a particular project. Okay? All right, you had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, go back to the, which one, the MBI or the?
Yeah, the SBI.
The SBI, yes.
Okay, how is this 3 million for the SBI 1 or the 2 million for the SBI 2?
Uh-huh.
Is that the actual project size?
That's the project.
How much you're earning?
No. So it's the project size. So that would be your firm. They do a calculation based on what is it, the SBA size standard.
Okay.
So there's a calculation, and you would have to fill out. It's an affidavit. You have to do the worksheet, turn it in with your bid to make sure that you or any firm fits into this SBIA size standard. And to give you, if you're interested, give me a call after this, and you can find out there's paperwork that you as a vendor or any vendor has to submit to prove that they fit within that size standard. So that way, say some firm that is over that, they would not qualify, they cannot perform in SBI 1, and same thing, we do the same thing, half size for the SBI, for SBI 2, the same for MBI, and the same for MBI 2. No, it's just you filling out it's almost like filing your tax. You have to submit your tax returns, anything showing your income for that prior year. Okay, so that all has to be submitted, and then it gets verified, yes. Okay, so it's not a certification, anything like that, but we do verify those numbers to make sure that you fit within those size standards. Okay, all right. Excuse me. And I think with that turns it over to the Gordian group for the. Oh, you had another question? Yes, go ahead.
Back into the equal
back.
opportunity.
Yes.
Saying if you use some of these apprentice, or how can we find out about these programs or these available options to use?
Well, for this one, you, like I say, for selecting any, this is saying if you get awarded a contract, you will have these type of workers on the actual contract, a journey worker or an apprentice or a laborer. How many are you going to utilize African American, Hispanics, any women? Are you going to have those on the contract? And how many are you going to utilize?
So these people are available.
They are available, yeah.
And I'm just saying, what organization, is there a list or somewhere where you can find these people?
You can go to our assist agencies.
Okay.
And that's always listed in our books. We got like maybe 10 or 15 assist agencies that will point you to the various companies that you can utilize for that. Yeah, oh yes. Okay? Yes, for sure. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, one thing, like if you're a contractor, do you have to be sponsored by a union? I see that you got to be sponsored by a union.
So that was the next one, like this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you, in a sense, you of course would have to market yourself to the various companies. And then then they'll ask the question, are you in one of those programs or did you graduate from high school? You say, yes, I am. And if they say, okay, we're going to take you on and take advantage of this bid incentive for apprentice utilization, they put all your information in and show how you're going to be utilized. And they have to show this on during the duration of that contract. But if you are, then they will get that incentive for you being on that contract. Yeah. Any other questions on that before we turn it over to the mic? Okay. Sure. Yeah, let me do that right now. Name is Gary Bell. G-A-R-Y. Bell, B-E-L-L. And then you can call 312-744-6562. I manage a large unit, so let me give you my email. It's better that you reach me by email, Gary, G-A-R-Y, .bell. bid at cityofchicago.org. Gary.Brown at cityofchicago.org. Assistant Procurement Officer.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Kahari Andrews. I'm representing the Gordian Group, and my section of today will be Introduction to Job Order Contracting, also called JOB, which is the acronym. So today we're going to talk about JOC. We're going to talk about bidding as a prime contractor, the process of JOC, benefits of JOC to a prime contractor and a subcontractor. We're going to go over some key points of JOC, and then we'll open the discussion at the end if you have any questions or any questions you want to ask. So JOC, what is JOC? JOC is a part of a family of, it's also called IDIQ, and infinite definite, infinite quantity contract. IDIQ, some other IDIQ contracts are JOC, WEC, DOC, SABRE, IQC. The federal government began using JOC in the 1980s. The Gordian Group, which manages the JOC process, was established in 1990. There are over 2,000 JOC contracts nationwide, and in 2015, Cook County received the award for using their job order contracting program. So going into JOC. JOC is a delivery method for the city to procure construction services. You're probably familiar with other methods, which would be a traditional bid method, term agreement, and in-house trades. Those are traditional methods. JOC is an alternative method that you might or might not be familiar with, but we'll go into it now. I don't know if you can read that diagram at the bottom. It pretty much walks you through the different steps of a JOC project. Can everybody read that?
Where's that in the project?
Yeah, and then at the end it says start construction. So it's similar to a regular procurement method where if you're familiar with construction or familiar with how to procure a job, you identify the project, you have a joint scope meeting with any principals and the contractor. The contractor prepares a proposal. You review the proposal. The administrative agency issues a PO, and then you start construction. It's similar to a traditional method, but a lot more condensed and meant to speed up the process for agencies such as the city. And then start construction. And if you can read at the bottom, JOC is not meant to replace any procurement method. It's just another tool for the city to accomplish work. So again, this is another procurement method that the city uses, and we'll go into the specific use of it, why they use it, but just another thing on the list on how they procure work. Okay, so a couple things about, qualities about JOC. JOC is competitively bid. It's a firm fixed price, and it's indefinite quantity. So let's just walk through what those mean. It's a firm fixed price. JOC is predicated on the construction task catalog, and what that is in this catalog you have a 200-page book of firm fixed prices that identify different tasks such as work tasks, equipment tasks, and labor tasks. So in this book, you might see a wood door for $200. You might see tile for $3. You might see a rolling gate, rolling shutter for $10. All these prices are already predetermined in this construction task catalog, which is part of the program. Well, the proposal, it's that the catalog is set, the prices are already locally based on certain areas. So what they do is they take for supplies and labor, they take national prices and then drill that down to a region and then they drill that down to a city area. So, for instance, there's some projects that are being rebid now. Their catalog are being rebid. So these catalogs are being designed as we speak. So as these catalogs are being designed, they're taking all these prices and taking all these labor rates and identifying them right now in 2020 for a project for the next 3 years. So those projects are those prices are updated on a yearly basis. So their current prices for the local region that you're in. So they're pretty accurate. They're pretty accurate. Does that answer? Well, the prices are already set. So if a contractor looks at that price in the proposal, and you put your proposal together, and it involves, if my proposal says replace 300 square feet of tile, then your price in the proposal, the price for gray tile or gray should be $3. So when you go to price that, it should be around that area, and it should be in that around that same rate. Well, I guess you could call it that, more of a catalog, more of a catalog. But well, I guess you could call it a template. So,
Get you an idea as to
well,
ballpark you should be getting.
well, let me clarify that. Your proposal is, we're going to go into it, but your proposal is built on the prices in that catalog. So,
You got to look at the catalog when you're doing your.
right. And we're going to go into this, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but there's software that is used for the catalog as well. So when you build your proposal in the software, you're taking prices from this catalog, and it's going to say $3 a tile. You take $3 from the catalog, put that in your proposal that's on this software, and then you're building out of that catalog. So the only thing that's outside of the system is how your means and methods on how you facilitate the proposal outside of what the pricing is, if that makes any sense. So this is in the JOC process, the prices and rates are already set, and you're using the eGordian software as an interface. Your means and methods on how you build that, on how you follow through on the proposal, it will be up to the contractor. But those prices are already set. So, and each JOC contractor that agrees to the JOC program, they understand that. So when the contractor comes in to bid for a JOC award, they already know that the catalog includes these prices, and they're aware of what they're going to be bidding on going forward, if that makes any sense. So on that point, as we're talking about a contractor, there's no indefinite quantity. No projects are identified at the time of bidding. The contract is for a fixed term and has potential maximum dollar value. So based on what I just said, a contractor gets awarded a JOC contract. They don't have any idea about, there are no projects identified prior to them awarding. The contract is for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, and the contract is for $3 million. They know that they're going to have this contract for the next 3 years. They don't have any idea what these contracts are, but what they do have in front of them is the CTC and who the agency that they'll be contracting with. So they have an idea about what their scope is going to be, and they can look in the CTC and see that prices for tile, prices for doors they're going at this rate. So then they can.
So an agency has to be in this database. You know, like build the.
When you say agency has to build in the database,
Like my agency, I have to go in this database and build it, because you said it's for 1 to 3 years, right?
well,
Say that thing is for 1 to 3 years.
the 1 to 3 years is for the contractor who has the award with the city.
Okay.
So general contractor is awarded a JOC contract with the city. So JC Construction gets a JOC contract with the city of Chicago for 3 years. They in turn are given the opportunity to follow through to procure these job methods on behalf of the city. So, like I just said, prime contractor. Part one of that is bidding on the job order contractor. Part two is procuring individual projects from the owner. So based on what we just talked about, a GC comes in, they're awarded this. A GC is awarded the contract. Oh, well, let's start there. Owner advertises job order contract. Contractors, GC submits the bid. Owner is awarded umbrella job order contract. GC gets that job contract from the city in this case. There are other agencies that also are administer job contracts, but we're talking about the city now. After they're awarded the contract, that GC gives subcontracting opportunities out based on whatever job orders. Again, they're not no job orders are identified at the time of award, but once jobs do come in and they have to fill the jobs, then that's when they award those subcontracting opportunities.
So how do you get on the subcontractors list?
That would be, it would be up to a subcontractor to establish those relationships with the GC. So.
Is there a database to find out what GCs are wanting to?
Absolutely. DPS has a list of upcoming job contracts for, I believe, going in 221 on the website. Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
So the key point with that, to build off what you said, is that those are based on scope. So, you know, if you're an electrician, if you are in whatever trade you're in, you get some sort of a direction as to, you know, what GC you would have to talk to based on what that job contract is based on.
And do contractors or the generals, do they get any advantage from using MBE or MBE?
Absolutely, absolutely, they're required to. Yeah, on each job contract, there are compliance goals that they have to meet. 25, and it depends on the agency, but around 25 and 7, 26 and 7. But that is the benefit that's one of the benefits the city offers in terms of awarding these contracts. Those subcontracting opportunities to come out. It was a long way to get to that point, but that's how those opportunities are provided under the JOC program in a nutshell. Bidding as a bidding as a prime contractor. This isn't entirely correct right now. In the last 3-5, and maybe in the last 10 years, all of these documents have been provided on CD and paper. Just this past year, the city has moved to an e-procurement method where this is provided online through their e-procurement program. So, right. That would be provided as a PDF to the GC when they're awarded the contract. So, you know, no one will have to worry about, you know, that's literally 2,000 pieces of paper, and you know, having that paper and going through the contract. Back in the day, it was a little cumbersome. So let's go into. We've talked about the construction the construction task catalog a lot. So this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see this or not, but right there you have curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and driveways. At the bottom, it breaks down cast in place, concrete curbs and gutters, and then it breaks down even further than that by how much concrete you're going to be replacing. So it gets pretty detailed, and they really drill. The amount of research that goes into these catalogs is pretty extensive. They really drill down into every minute detail that a contractor is going to have to encounter in trying to fulfill the job. And then, of course, you have the prices over to the right. So in addition to the catalog, there are technical specifications. So for every item that's in that catalog, there are specifications that are identified with that item. So again, going back to this, if you see rolling shutter in the CTC, if you go to the technical specs for rolling shutter, it's going to say, 18 by 18, made out of aluminum, 2 by 3 slats, what have you. It's going to really go into detail. So there are no questions and there's no confusion about what you're pricing and what you're bidding on. So bidding as a prime contractor. As we said before, a prime contractor comes in, they have no idea what they're bidding on. So this is where the process of bidding comes in. A prime contractor coming in would have to know who they're bidding for, so they're going to have to determine what their direct costs are. Only way you would know what your direct costs are analyzing the CTC and the specifications. Again, since you don't know what projects you're bidding on, you're going to have to look at the prices that are already set forth, and then the standard procedure is to take a job. So if a GC comes in and they're looking to bid on a contract, their best method would be to take a small job, medium job, and a bigger job. Take those items from the CTC and build out the job based on those prices listed. If those prices match what you would normally bid for a job, then you know that, okay, based on my overhead, based on my payroll, based on my workers' comp, based on all these other costs I have, in addition to the construction task, I'm going to be able to make some money using this construction task catalog. If it doesn't, then that's when you know there would be some adjustment that you would have to make on the back end. Okay, how do I continue to make money? If I'm awarded this contract and I have to use these prices, how would I be able to make money on a consistent basis based on these scopes that I'm going to be expected to take on? In a nutshell, that's what that says. So, again, that's what we just talked about, preferred method for analyzing the price in the CTC versus your cost. Select a comparable project from your files. Example, the project you selected paid you $82,323. You were happy with $82,323. You build a price proposal from the CTC at a factor of 1. The price from the CTC comes out $75,746. Is less than what you would normally get, which was $82,83. You calculate the adjustment factor. If you were satisfied with $82,323, then you would have to bid up to, if the CTC came back with $75,746, but you know that you're gonna have to be bid $82,323 to make all of your money, your adjustment factor is gonna have to bid up for that difference. That's a pretty key point. So if anybody has any questions, you can bring it up at the end. But that's the basis of the job contract for a GC bidder. That's just a sample of a price proposal. It's pretty hard to see. Again, we talked about this. You want to select more than one project. So if someone's bidding for the city, you want to select a project, a lower project. You want to select a higher project. You want to select a project where you have to choose multiple trades. You want to select a project where you have to choose a single trade. You want to get a pretty good window of what you might encounter. So for a GC, if your term is going to be 3 to 5 years, you don't know what jobs you're going to get over those 3 to 5 years. So you want to be pretty comfortable with what you're bidding because you're locked in at that point. That factor that you're locked in at is going to be pretty much the return you make on each job going forward until that contract's satisfied. So bidding on a contract, there's a lot of legwork. You have to do a lot of research to make sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted. Tips for being a successful job contractor: bid correctly, staff correctly. And again, that goes into the job process. joint scope meeting, request for proposal, proposal development, proposal review, issue job order. But again, that's after the award. That's the process once you get once you are issued jobs by the agency. The job process, we've talked about that already. Okay, performance-based. So the job process, the job contracts are a performance-based contracting system. So the benefit of this is that as a GC, you are in fact working for the agency. They're going to issue you job orders based on your performance of the last job order. You're only as good as your last job order, and that comes with in life in general. But this is performance based on each job. You're going to be evaluated. If you don't receive a good evaluation on your last job, chances are either the agency they're going to be really selective on issuing you another job, or they're going to issue you more jobs. Why that's beneficial, why that's a key point, is the fact that if you're a GC and again, you don't have any idea about how many jobs you're going to get during the term. If you're a GC and let's say you're doing a great job, you're making money, during this term of the contract, and they start to issue you more jobs, you know what your staffing capacity is. You know how many jobs you might be able to take in a year. You know how many jobs you've taken in the past. You don't know how many jobs an agency is going to give you. There's a chance that they might issue you more jobs than you might be able to handle for that term or for that year. So what do you do then? Do you, hire more? Exactly. So that's where the benefit of job process kind of trickles down from the GC to the subcontractor. If they know that, during this time, and again, it's performance-based, so number one, you have to take the job, and then number two, you have to fill the job and do a great job. So it's imperative that you not only staff quickly, you staff correctly. So when the GC, if a subcontractor has a great relationship with the GC, or has an established relationship with the GC, that's when, if you do the performance-based aspect trickles down. If you have a great relationship with the GC and they know they're getting, let's say the GC's getting a lot of work, you do a great job with this GC, maybe the first time, maybe the second time, and they continue to get work, they're probably going to pass that opportunity on to you again, because again, they have no idea how much work they're going to get. So if they're comfortable with giving you this electrical trade on this particular job, they know that each additional job they're going to get, and they're already overstaffed, then they know, okay, let me dole this electrical trade out to Joe Blow Electrical. So that way, and that's how the benefits of job process kind of trickles down from the GC to the subcontractor. It's the repeat work, it's the volume of work, and it's the performance of each company. Again, this is what we just talked about. Job contracts include measurable performance standards. As a GC, you want to submit timely price proposals. Timely construction is essential. Quality construction is essential. And again, this, an achievement of the MWBE goals and self-performance goals. Again, that goes back if a GC is comfortable with you and you are also helping them meet these WMBE goals, it's almost a double win for GCs. They're not only meeting their goals, but they've established a relationship with the contractor who has not only proven themselves to be timely, but has also proven themselves, to deliver quality results. So the benefits of job order contracting. Job can be profitable. Profit is a result of volume. Volume is driven by performance. As we just talked about, job provides a steady flow of work, and you don't have to chase the next project. That's key. that's key again. As a subcontractor, as a GC, you might spend a good part of your year, your business year, trying to secure work. If you have a relationship with the, if a GC has a relationship with the city, or if you as a subcontractor have a relationship with this GC who has a relationship with the city, there's no loss of work from these agencies. There's no lack of work from these agencies. You can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be a steady flow of work if you perform, and that goes on both sides. There's it's very helpful to have a long-term relationship with the city, to develop a partnership with the city, and have a non-adversarial relationship with the city. It could be professionally rewarding. You can have different types of projects, and you have the ability to provide input during scope development. Subcontractors benefits with job order contracting. No projects are identified at the time of bidding, so prime contractor cannot staff up to self-perform. Increase subcontracting opportunities because prime contractors must utilize subcontracting community. Simplify procurement process for the city, allowing them to procure more work in a shorter period of time, and multiple projects on multiple sites simultaneously. Again, we talked about that's pretty much how that down. As a subcontractor, it's important you contact prime contractors and establish a relationship. What I've said in the past is that if as a subcontractor, it would behoove you to take a look at the job contracts that are posted. Take a look at the CTC that might be the CTC for the CTC for the contract, and get familiar with what's in that contract. If you can go to a GC and possibly say, okay, I'm familiar with job process, I know how to build a proposal from this catalog, that will give you a leg up in terms of trying to negotiate a relationship. Subcontractors are not bound to the prices in the CTC. What that means is that the GC is the proposal that the GC develops is based on the CTC. The subcontractors that the GC subcontracts opportunities out to, they're not bound by the prices, but obviously they have to match up. The GC doesn't want to lose money and pay more than what they've agreed to proceed. The key points. JOC is an established procurement system used by several public agencies. JOC has benefits for all parties, the owner, the prime contractor, and subcontractors. It's a performance-based contracting system that determines the amount of work to be issued. And for subcontractors, be aware of the methods to submit a quote to the JOC prime contractor and be ready to perform at a high level. Getting involved in the JOC program. Analyze the JOC programs in the Chicago area and any other areas you're willing to work. Again, the upcoming JOC contracts that will be bid are located in that buying plan, and I believe it goes until definitely the end of this year, but possibly until next year.
So, is it listed under JOC program?
Yes.
Okay, it's listed.
Yep. Identify those programs whose scope of work relates to your work. Like we said, if you're the JOC programs specify what they don't go into the scope of each job, but they give you a general idea about the disciplines that will be used on that contract. So if you're an electrician, you'll have, looking at the contract, you'll know what type of disciplines based on what's listed there if your scope fits within that contract. For prime contractors, analyze the prices in the CTC and develop accurate adjustment factors at the time of bidding. And for subcontractors, establish a relationship with the prime contractors. So here's some other city departments that utilize the JOC program. 2FM, which is now called DAIS, Department of Aviation, DPD, CDOT, Department of Water Management. A lot of the city departments, DAIS, Department of Assets and Informational Services. But again, these are, the thing to take away from this is that these are all of the city departments. And one thing I didn't touch on is JOC is meant to procure in a majority of the time is meant to procure smaller maintenance jobs, smaller to mid-sized jobs. So that's why all of these city departments utilize the JOC program, because trying to maintain buildings, trying to go about their daily plan of running these departments. They're going to need, for instance, Department of Aviation, they have different programs in terms of different maintenance programs they have to do in terms of maintaining the airports, both landside and airside. They use the JOC program to procure work to take care of those job orders. Office of Emergency Management Communications, they deal a lot with the underground trenching of the wires that 911 uses and so forth. Those wires go down, depending on the winters. They use the JOC program to maintain and repair those wires that go on. So again, the JOC program is used for reoccurring maintenance, reoccurring repairs, reoccurring maintenance programs that each one of these city departments has to use.
Mainly for maintenance?
No, I wouldn't say, I would say ideally it would be for maintenance, but at times it's used for bigger projects. But the initial purpose of it would be for maintenance and smaller repairs, things that are reoccurring that you can probably, all the repairs you had last year, you're probably going to have them this year too, those type of repairs. Here's some other JOC programs not affiliated with the city. CHA, Chicago Public Schools, CTA, City Colleges of Chicago, University of Illinois at Chicago, and so forth.
They included in JOC?
Well, they have JOC programs.
Okay.
So each one of these agencies has a JOC contract, and then in that JOC contract, they administer awards to GCs. So for instance, City Colleges of Chicago, at Kennedy King College, they might have a job where they need to refurbish a room or move a classroom. They might use the JOC program to demo that room and build out the room again. So that's an example of how a college or how one of these agencies will use JOC to take care of the work orders they have to take care of. All discussions in this workshop pertain to the City of Chicago only. Procedures that other agencies identified on this slide may be different. To find advertisements for agencies listed on this slide, look at the agency's website. The city's website does not advertise contracts for agencies listed on this slide. To find out about current advertisements applies to all city contracts. You sign up for DPS alerts or go to the DPS website. DPS Alerts is a really great resource. I don't know if anyone has signed up for it, but once you sign up, you get alerts about not only workshops like this, but you get alerts, depending on what you toggle, you get alerts on upcoming contracts. And you can also check the newspaper. And again, Byron Whitaker, who is the Assistant Deputy Procurement Officer, that's actually going, that's Gary Bell, who just spoke, Michael Bashman, who's my account manager, and myself. These would be the contacts for the JOC program. Any questions?
Just maybe, I don't know if it's a question, but for me, Johnson, numbers, you got so many items in this particular bid.
Mm-hmm.
That you could do various jobs.
Mhm.
The only thing that seems to be set is the price of the material.
Okay, that's a good point. I didn't bring it up during the, so in the CTC, it's based off of labor, material, and equipment. So all three of those items are set. There are pretty much no other items that you would need to build a proposal. So if I'm building a proposal for installing this tile for City Hall, my proposal, I'm going to pull a 6x6, 12x12 tile from the CTC that is identified by this color, this material. I'm going to say, I'm going to look at labor. I'm going to pull up labor for a two-man crew for 4 days. I'm going to pull that from the CTC, put that in the proposal. Equipment, for the equipment, I might look for a machine scraper to take up the tile. I'm going to pull that from the CTC, and that's going to give me a final cost based on everything I need to accomplish this job.
But if everybody,
Got the same information.
right, if everybody has to use this pricing guide,
Mhm.
well, how do you get yours? If he using the same guide, I'm using the same, we all using the same guide.
We're going to submit the same price.
Right.
Well, I think we're missing a key point. You've already been chosen. So as a GC,
Oh, and then you, okay, I see what you're saying.
so as a GC, you've already been chosen to do the job. That's a benefit of it. You're GC Joe Blow. I'm chosen. I'm awarded this contract. They're saying, okay, you've been awarded this contract. You'll have this tile job. You'll have this tile job for the next 5 years, or whatever other job that we need to give to you. Those we expect you to do the job quickly and on the quality, and and have some type of quality to your work. Then, as a GC, if you get too many tile jobs, if you get too many door jobs, that's when you will go to a subcontractor and say, hey, do you do tile, do you do doors? I've got a lot of work under this contract. I need you to do this. You put that door in, you put those tiles in, great. Hey, next time I get a tile job, I'm going to need you to do this again. Goes on and on for the next, as long as that term, as long as that contract is, enforced. So that's in a nutshell how that process will go.
Okay. Now that I'm clear on that, how do you get selected? How do you become the prime?
That's where that bidding process comes in. So as a bidder, you have to prove that not only your capability as a prime contractor, you also have to win the bid. So in winning the bid, you have to come up with the lowest adjustment factor. In winning the bid, you have to come up with the lowest adjustment factor in the job program. So there are two keys. As a GC, you have to prove you're capable, and then the second thing, you will have to win the bid. You win the award by being the lowest and the most responsive bidder.
How do I know what I'm bidding on? Because it's a contract, I can have 12 tile jobs, I can have 20 door jobs,
Well,
and they're all going to come in at
They
the
will
same
provide
price.
a blueprint and scope of work and all that stuff.
for the most part, that's why they ask GCs to bid, because if your trade is as an electrician, you're gonna be asked to do work outside of electrical jobs. That's why they ask GCs to bid, who then dole those projects out based on whatever the job entails after that point. But that's specifically why they ask prime contractors to come in, because at that time, no jobs are identified at all. And those jobs can range from a lot of different scopes. But to your point, if you looked at this if you looked at the city agencies, Department of Department of Aviation won't have a lot of they won't, depending on the agency, you can get an idea about what type of scope they're going to have. Department of Transportation, they have work on the streets, they have work on, not structures, they have work on bridges and so forth. So, yeah, more civil, exactly, more civil engineer. So you haven't, based on who the agency that's awarding the contract, you have an idea about what that scope is going to be based on that. But to your point, you're not going to be provided a specific scope. You're going to be expected to fulfill that scope, and that's why they ask GCs to bid. That's specifically the reason.
So it's more tailored to GCs than to electrical contractors?
Yes, as the initial award. But as we discussed, if you have a specific trade, that's when it would be that's where it would be important for you to establish these relationships with those GCs that awarded the job contract. So that way, if they do have an electrical job that comes up and you do well, they're going to have more electrical jobs, and that's where you establish your relationship. It's sort of like a trickle-down effect for subs.
Let me ask a question. My firm is WBE, MBE, BCE, the rest of AABE, whatever acronyms are.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get on the subcontractors list? Or I'm already on the list because I got that group 6.
In the job program, though, the GCs aren't required to pick from a specific list for those job orders. They do have compliance goals, those MWB goals. So in choosing a subcontractor, they're going to take those certifications into account for sure. But
am I on a list?
no, there's no list. Yeah, there's no list. They have to fulfill certain goals during that contract, and they will look at your certification, but they definitely don't look at a list, and they're not mandated to choose from a preset list at all. No.